Hey y'all, before today's episode, we wanted to let you know that Thicc Radio has been nominated for this year's Inner Star Trailblazer Awards in the media category.
We are finalists. This is a huge honor. We're both so incredibly grateful for the nomination, which just goes to show that people around the world not only love the podcast, but want to recognize it too. But though this is an incredible opportunity, we officially need your help.
Now listen, public voting is open now. It has been open and it will be open until Sunday, the 24th of August. So we are asking all of y'all to please go and vote for us. We've included the link in the show notes.
You only get one vote per email, so cast it wisely. Winners will be announced on Saturday, the 18th of October.
Now, that might seem far away, but the panel will want to vote fairly on a winner, and you can help us by engaging with us. Like and comment on our social media posts, rate and review the podcast, share the episodes with people, you know the gist.
We also wanted to take this opportunity to say a great big thank you. It's your dedicated listenership that inspires us to do what we do, so this award isn't just for me and James, it's for all of us.
So pause this, go vote, then come on back and enjoy another week here on the podcast. Thanks for taking the time to listen, y'all. Bye,
Bye,
Fats.
Fats.
Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome back to Thicc Radio, the award-winning podcast where we talk about gaining, fetishism, and everything plus size. I'm James.
And I'm Tim, so let's get into it. Today we're welcoming to the show for the first time, we've got John.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Of course, how are you today?
I'm doing great. It's finally summertime, so I'm ready for whatever that means, essentially.
Well, listen, we really appreciate you sharing your experiences here with us today and giving us the chance to have a conversation, because I think today's chat is going to be a little different. And listen, I know that's probably a very cliche thing to say. We're going to do things a little bit differently. But no,
Yeah.
I think in the context of what we do with the podcast, I think this will be a very different episode. Just here at the top, we're going to talk about it. So you are someone who has gained in the past, but is now no longer, correct?
Yeah, I would say that sums it up.
So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Obviously, the premise of the show is to talk about everything in relation to gaining, and life post-gaining is a thing that I think more people probably experience and gets discussed within the community. So we're really grateful that you're going to be sharing your thoughts and feelings with us today. So really, first, cab off the rank. Can you share with us how you discovered the gaining community and maybe share with us what your journey was like?
Sure. I guess this is the part of the episode that is going to be very similar to other stories because you've heard this before. It's about the stuffing of a pillow underneath your shirt as a kid. It's about the exploration of the early iterations of the internet and finding communities online and realizing you're actually not a piece of shit. You're normal and you're experiencing something beautiful that is shared with a lot of other people. So yeah, I kind of realized an attraction to fat, an attraction to weight gain before I realized I had an attraction to other men. So it was always something I knew, I would say. There was always like this, not necessarily a voice, but an intuition to eat, I would say. And always a kind of wish to grow larger and to experience whatever that felt like. And I moved away from home when I was just 16 to try and live in the big city. Okay, maybe this is the part where it's very similar to other stories, but you know, queer guy coming from the countryside, moving to the big city as a 16-year-old. This was way before Grommr, and I think I think there was a gaming community created by Australian guy called Larger Than Life. Could that be correct?
Yes, he runs Belly Builders.
Yes. And I remember being on that website and also Beefy Frat. And Nat had some kind of website that was that was also up for younger people. This was like early 2000s. I'm old, so.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
yeah,
think
right
it was
there with you.
called it's
Fat
called Fat
Nats.
Nats, right? Like, and it
Fat
was, I
Nats, that
think,
was the name.
yeah, and it was specifically for teenagers who were
Yes.
into gaming. And it's an
Yes.
interesting archival thing to reference because I think we understand the concept of social media now as these widespread platforms that kind of anyone can be on. But back during a certain time of the internet, like the lines of what was appropriate for people to be doing was very blurry. So I think
Yep.
something like Fat Nats could have only really worked in such an era. Nat, I believe himself was a teenager at the time who had learned how to code just enough to kind of make something happen, and it was creating a space for people his age and around to do the thing. And then I
Yeah,
think it
because he's my
ended,
age now.
and then I think it ended because he became an adult, and it's like, well, I obviously can't be doing this, and this obviously now needs to end, and so therefore that was, yeah.
I found some people, like I was chatting with some people and meeting up some people as well, and just, exploring what this like really where this story would take me essentially. I did a little bit of back and forth. I was a very active late teenager, adolescent. I did a lot of sports. I injured myself, and when you do a lot of sports, you kind of have to eat quite a lot. And after an injury, well, this is also a story I guess you've heard once or twice before, but the weight gain that comes after an injury when your body is used to burning X amounts of calories because you work out, but you obviously can't work out anymore. And I really enjoyed it, and it kind of brought me back to this weird headspace where I was like, oh, maybe I should try this. I had a quote unquote killer body back then, what is deemed to be, especially during that time. I think this was late 2000s. So I was about 16, 17, or 18 maybe. And I had a really defined body, but I was afraid to show off. I would wear like very big hoodies, very big jackets, whatever, poofy clothing, basically to hide my body because I was so ashamed because I had just an ounce of belly fat and it was just disgusting. That obviously changed a few years later when I started to gain weight and I started to become more and more at home with my body, I would say. After high school, when I was, I guess, 18, 19, I moved to the city where I currently live, the second largest city in Sweden. And this was another new start for me. I didn't know anyone in this little town, and I remember like when I started gaining a little bit of weight, I always walked around with my gut sucked in maximum. And I started to like relax a bit. I started to, well, feel more at home with being a bit bigger, I guess. And I also started to gain. So I gained weight. This was, I guess, 2011. I gained up and down. I reached 100 kilos, which was a big milestone for me back then. I don't believe in conversion therapy, but 100 kilos is maybe 180 pounds. I don't know, 220 pounds.
220.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was a lot for me, but it was like when you talk about it like kilos, that's three digits instead of two. So it was big. But
Big
I
deal.
essentially did the JoJo diet when you go up and down and up and down. Then I kind of decided to, you know what? You only live this weird thing that we call life once. Why not go for it? And I did. I guess when I started writing down my weight and started to like actively try to gain weight, I was 75 kilos. Obviously going up and down before that, but 75 kilos was my starting point. And slowly over the years, it crept upwards. I did the the thing that every gainer does. I plateaued. Well, yeah, you stop at a certain point because your body's like, hang on, wait a minute. Frustrations, that part. But I reached 150 kilos back in 2021. And I guess when I was 100 kilos, I thought 110 is probably going to be enough. We all know how that feels when you get there. You kind of start to think that maybe 120 kilos is better. And then it's like 130. But yeah, I got to 150 kilos, which I believe is somewhere around 350 maybe pounds. Do you have something for that?
I think that that's close to, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm US, so we're imperial
Yeah,
system.
I know around 130 is about 300. So 150, yeah, maybe 350. Because
Yeah.
I think 180 is 400. It's like you get that thing of like when you measure in metric and then you have to learn imperial and then you kind of like you've got like benchmarks for the conversion, but everything in
Yep.
between you're sort of like roughly. So yeah, roughly 350 pounds.
But it was a big boy territory at least. I was chubby, I was huge, and I felt like this is serious numbers. And for me personally, I did not feel that big. Looking back at photos from my maximum weight, and now when I'm oh by the way, I've lost around 50 kilos. I'll get into that, but looking back at photos right now, I'm like, oh shit, I was actually quite big. But when I remember back, 2021, I think this was, I felt like, no, I'm a bit husky, probably, but that's it. It wasn't necessarily like I feel really, really big. But looking back at it, I guess I was very big. That's 150 or 350 pounds. So yeah, I ended up being 150 kilos. That was the maximum weight, and I guess the goal that I felt like I had being that size was bigger. I was really well, 180 kilos. You said it's 400 pounds. I was really kind of looking forward to push myself towards that weight. I well, towards that goal at least. But things happened, and obviously I didn't. So yeah.
I really appreciate your candidness. I mean, ultimately, that thing you mention of the common gainer experience of visualizing a number or an experience of a weight rarely correlates to how it feels when you're actively there. You know, the common gainer thing of, well, maybe I'll go a little further, a little bigger, a little more. And then, of course, when you're there, it's like you only really felt husky. You didn't necessarily feel fat. And sometimes it's a dissonance that I don't think enough people really talk about. What does it mean to feel fat? If you've grown up your entire life skinny, how would you know what it feels to be fat? And it's sort of critique, certainly, I think, of people, but something that I think more people could be aware of and cognizant of. And I appreciate your willingness to share that with us. I mean, if you feel comfortable sharing, I know you mentioned like about 100, 110 was sort of the goal at first, and then you got up to 150. Did you have loftier goals at that point, or was it the experience of being at that size that you then kind of went, well, hang on, if I want to grow past a certain point, that's getting into like a territory that even you hadn't like conceived of. Like, do you feel comfortable sharing a bit more around that?
Sure. Quick side note though. I would be comfortable sharing pictures if you want that for your social media from like my biggest size or whatever. That would be totally fine with me, and we can talk about that later. And to go to your question, I did not feel that I got to a certain size or a shape or a weight limit and feel like, okay, this is good enough. I've done it. I've experienced it. It was more of a realization that is any number ever going to be enough for me? So I would say that the mindset or the goal that I had back then was, this is fun. I mean, I have a very big belly and I'm a belly guy. So I was obviously very happy with that, but it was not enough. I felt like no. It is definitely going to be 180 kilos or maybe even 200 kilos. It is definitely going to be more. I am going to reach super chub territory, and I guess I've always been like there's always been two sides of this story. I would say it's one side is the side where I am happy with my weight, where I'm happy with being queer gainer that wants to grow fatter and is happy and confident and feel sexy, feels beautiful, feels generally like a good person. And the other side is a side with elements of depression, elements of anxiety, elements of not being good enough, thoughts and feelings that surrounds that kind of negative parts of the weight gain experience. Like, what am I doing to myself? Why am I like? Why also very much comparing myself to other gainers. The kind of dark side of the social media thing, where social media, especially Instagram, was really active on Instagram and Tumblr, and especially Tumblr before the purge, where the lady frog nipples or whatever the fuck it was, female presenting nipples, that was the one. And I was, when you're in that negative headspace, because I obviously were, you can scroll social media and you can see a lot of these gainers that post, or not gainers, but people from our community that post the best sides of their life, right? The best stories, the best photos, whatever, of their perfect, happy, chubby, fat life, where they experience queer joy, where they experience a big community that embraces them for who they are, while I, on the other hand, have a very loving, supportive partner, but that was about it. There is really not a huge scene in Sweden for this. I mostly experienced the scene when I was traveling. And when you, like, I would say even the size that I am right now is considered to be very, very big in Sweden. Sweden is, I would say, a very fat phobic country. It is very much, no, you're not supposed to be this big. So yeah, there was a lot of anxiety and loneliness actually that kind of influenced me to feel that there was two sides of the story, essentially. That yes, I want to continue, and what am I doing? And I guess it would be very important for me to say that there was never a moment like this big moment that was like, okay, I've decided I am going to stop. It was a gradual thing. There was never this big, like, intense, like, no, I'm not gonna do this anymore. It was just one day I noticed that I was prioritizing things a lot differently 2 years later than I was before, and that I've lost weight, and that I've taken a big step back from the community.
Which is a completely normal part of life. There's
Oh
ebbs
yeah.
and flows to everything. I think that, the when the community is kind of being obsessive about it with, as we always say, dick in hand, they never consider the fact that there's a million other factors that go on in a person's life that might make it inconvenient to be doing this right now. And I have known a few gainers over the years that have, they started off really skinny. They got to 400 pounds. They lost it all. Then they're gaining it back again. They're people, we did a whole episode about yo-yoing with one of the most well-known gainers in the community. It's not unusual for this to happen. And it doesn't invalidate your position within the community. It doesn't invalidate you as a member of the community. You've just decided to make a change for a while.
I think something that comes to it for me, and this is part of my own journey within gaining as well, is my validity as a person. Because we can obviously make clear delineations of, size and queerness, especially as it pertains to sexuality, same-sexedness, etc. But what I came to recognize about my own gaining journey was that fatness affirms me as a living, breathing human being. The pursuit of gaining has helped ground my mental health and ground my sense of self in a way that no other aspect of my life has, including my own generic sense of queerness. I've spoken about this on the podcast, certainly more in the earlier seasons, but I've had a storied history with mental health and abuse and things, and for a long time, gaining was the only concept that stayed with me through a lot of that hurt. And it was the only thing that I had to look to give me any sense of purpose and sense of self. It is through the pursuit of gaining that I said to myself, I shouldn't simply die, that I should take up space. In fact, I should take up more space. I should take up so much space that you cannot ignore me and tell me that I am not valid in my human experience, right? And gaining can do that for all of us. It could do it in a more generic sense for everybody, especially in the world we live in, which is very fatphobic and very unkind to people.
It's funny that you mentioned we've obviously had talks about this back and forth as well, but the thing that kind of moved me towards becoming a less shy person. Let's put it that, a person that takes up space, was the fact that I was physically taking up more space. I went from being the quiet person, the person who never speaks up, the person who is always just just passively walking along, or passively, like, I was a very, very quiet person back then. And when I instead became this person who, as you said, physically took up more space, no, you could not ignore me. I was the fat guy that took up space. I was the guy that, and that kind of gave me the confidence of, like, to keep going. But that confidence only took me so far. When you pair that up with, like, my mental well-being, which I've already talked about, but which I'm also been open about it, both with my social media that I'm not really active with anymore, but also with interactions that I have with the very, very few people that I from this community that I still interact with. And yeah, even though I didn't really have a big aha moment, as we said, I guess my mental health was a very important part, not really a part, but a factor about that, because I felt very alone. I felt very like, if I'm going to continue this journey, with the weight gain being the central part of my journey forward, or the not necessarily the weight gain, or the fat queerness of it all, like the body positivity being the main thing with this journey, I need to move, like physically move to a place where I would be more accepted, where I had more. I, if someone from my city listens to this and and feel like, oh, but I could have been a better friend, or we could have stayed in touch better, that is not what I mean. I mean it more like in a general sense, where you don't get judged for breaking a share, but where it's not constantly, or at least not the same level of, oh, should you really be having more pizza, or could you do this or that or this thing at your job because of your size, and stuff like that, which is very, very, very common in Swedish work spaces. But yeah, mental health was a big part of it, but there was also my physical health. And my physical health was really, really bad at 150 kilos. For I'm not really sure, but the weight probably didn't help. But I had both I had both a very strange, I think it was stress related probably. So maybe it was my mental health, but I just started to feel really nauseous one day, and it did not stop for 1.5 years. Like, I was completely nauseous and completely, like, I felt sick, and I couldn't really eat anything. I thought that I might have, let's see if this is the same in English as it is in Swedish, but Crohn's, which is a like a gut disease.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Crohn's
yeah,
disease.
yeah, exactly. I thought that I might have that. I thought that I might have what's it called, IBS as well. I tried eating according to the FODMAP, if you've ever heard about that, where you, like, cut everything that is good, so no avocados, no mangoes, no mushroom, no onions, and all of that, and it didn't really make a difference. Like, I still felt very, very sick, and I also had back issues, and the back issues could stem from my, well, bulbous, pendulous belly. But I did injure my back in 2014 when I worked with a more physically demanding job. I really hurt my back, and I had a herniated disc, and it's been bugging me ever since. And that was actually, I had back surgery for that in 2023. Yeah. So 2 years ago, I had back surgery for that. And that was also, like, it was really scary when it was at the worst. uh, when the back pain was at its worst, which was coincidentally around the time when I was at my biggest weight. I could not walk more than 1 or 2 minutes when it was at its worst, because it was so painful. I had sciatic nerve pains, which was just essentially just from my lower back down to my toes, just massive, massive pain. So 2 reasons for the weight loss: the mental and the physical.
So just to take it back for a second,
Yep.
you've explained beautifully this entire journey that you've been on, really, from beginning to where you are now. When you were at your largest size, what kind of engagements were you getting from the community? because we know that bigger bodies tend to draw more attention. And as you began losing weight, did that engagement then also began to peter off? Or are people as shallow as we were afraid they are?
So I took a break from Instagram before I decided to drop weight. And I would say I took the break because of the reason that I told you about before, like the grass being greener for other gainers, essentially. Or let's have an analogy that is more fat related. The fridge was fuller with the other content creators. Let's go with that. But when I got back, I told myself I will have a 6-month break or whatever. When I got back, my inbox was flooded with people that was really demanding things of me, like you were talking about before, Jay. Show me your belly now. How much have you gained? How much have you lost? And I did a really heartfelt post that I really poured my heart into, where I was really open. Or was it maybe a YouTube video? I don't remember. I was active on YouTube back in the days as well. But I did a really heartfelt media, whatever. And people were just flooding my inbox with "show me your belly." Like it was just that. But
Oh,
yes, to be honest, a bigger body means that people are more interested in you. I had people that were like, oh, now that you've reached 150 kilos, I would like to sponsor a trip down to Spain in my summer house. Can you come to Italy? Can you come to Turkey? Can you come to whatever? People were like really, really interested. And it was a fun experience to be like, oh, okay, cool. Let's see where this takes you. I met up with some people, and some people treated me like you were a
Yeah.
blob of fat. And I had people treat me like that, which is, it can be fun as well if you're into being objectified. And that's that's a
Yeah.
fair
yeah.
piece
There are
of the
times
like.
when I'm
Yeah.
totally fine with being objectified. Like
Yeah.
but it's my consent that they
Exactly.
objectify me.
That part.
Exactly. And when consent is given, it is sexy as fuck. But when it's not given, or maybe if I'm having a day where I feel like shit, then that consent is obviously not given. And
Hmm.
it really sped up my, well, not sped up, but really worsened my mental health as well.
Yeah.
That can be something that's difficult to adjust to, honestly. Like, and I don't know how to say this without it coming off as like, oh, what the hell are you talking about? But like, if that's never happened to you before, if you've never been objectified for any reason, it can be very jarring.
When your worth as a human is not inherent, it is only based on your size, your ability to perform as well to a sense of that fetish and fantasy.
Yeah. I guess I want to just go in a little bit when it comes to like the need that is different from like for the holistical perspective, the things from the community, the sense of community. And I guess I took a, I don't want to sound like I'm bashing the community at all, because for me the community was not the right path forward for me during this time, because even though I had a lot of absolutely wonderful people that I talked to, some of them I still talk to, some of them we've fallen apart, obviously, because that's life, especially when someone takes a huge step back as I do. And again, if someone is listening, I don't blame anyone. I'm not a fun person to talk to when I just shut down completely and ignore my inbox for a couple of months. So totally understood. But anyway, I wanted to kind of dive into the more holistical approach, and I've been this close, which is a centimeter. I've been very close of going to Grommr, going to Eurogromm back in 2014 or 16, or yeah, I've been very, very close to going to different community meetups, but I've always been so extremely afraid of the FOMO that would be like that I envisioned that I would experience after leaving a community event like that. Like, okay, I have to go back to my boring Swedish life now. I can't be with the fat and happy and joyful people anymore. I have to go back to this boring gray life where
We
I'm
call
the
it event drop. Yeah.
event drop.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd like
Touch.
to add in there though, when you said
Go
like
ahead.
you're afraid about bashing the community, never be afraid, because when you love something, you critique it. And why
Yeah.
do you critique it? Because you want it to be better. You want it to improve. You're saying this is good. but it could be better. We could improve in these places and we could make this into something that is better than what it was before. When you don't like something, you criticize it. But I wanted to ask, do you foresee at any point in the future where you're going to re-engage in the community to the point of like potentially throwing yourself back into an upward swing with your gains? Or if not that, then maybe some more connection, like potentially going to some of these events?
I've not been able to leave the community like 100%, and I don't necessarily wish to do that. I've I've been keeping my sense of involvement almost strictly online. Like my life is completely different now. It is such a cliche to say, but the weight loss has come at this at time in my life where I'm also no longer a student. I have a job that is, well, I had a job before as well, but I went back to school 2019. It's a completely different story, but I now have a job that is completely different from what I envisioned myself of doing. I get to travel a lot, and I get to do a lot of fun stuff essentially. Before, I was a really big gamer, big in two sense. I streamed on Twitch. I had a gaming Discord, and I had a gaming gainer Discord where I actually met Jay for the first time. Yeah, and this was, I think we covered this, right? It was 7 or 6 years ago, I think.
It was a while back, my God.
Yeah, yeah, it was a while ago. But that kind of lifestyle that I lived back then was pretty much gaming, gaining, and getting fatter, which is gaining. But gaming and gaining. Now with my job, I spend a lot of time in front of the computer, and when I'm off, I tend to not do that anymore at all. I'm like, no, 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 don't put me in front of the screen. I want to be offline now. And I go for a walk. I go for like a swim. I go sit down and read a book or whatever. I'm so boring. Like I'm I'm a
I
horrible.
totally get it. I totally get it though. Like, I had a phone-based job, so I
Yeah.
never wanted to talk to anybody. I
Oh
never
yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
talk on the phone because I had to do it for 8 hours a day. So I was like,
Yeah.
there's no friggin' way I'm going to talk to you. Like, if you can't do it all in text, forget it.
Like my life right now is me rediscovering like, oh shit, Tina Turner is a really good music artist, and that's life at the moment. So I'm not really engaging in the community as I was before, where it was pretty much voice based or online based, either on Discord servers or like texting on Grommr or whatever, or engaging in the social media, because I have too much screen time. And yeah,
That's the
I'm a
thing.
boring adult person right now instead.
No, and that's
But
okay.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I was going to ask how the shift in your gaming journey has affected your broader life, but I mean, you've pretty much described it, and that's going to happen. Like when you step away from something like this, that causes physical changes in the body, and then as your body, sheds the weight and I guess reverts to potentially its original state, like that's going to cause shifts in all kinds of things in your life. So really, I think the only question left to ask here is what advice would you give to any listeners who might be considering maybe now is not the right time for me to be on this journey? Maybe I should shed the weight and wait a few years, see what happens. Maybe some opportunities will open up.
it's a hard question because I would say that I've not been able to leave the community behind at all. I did meet up while I was traveling for work. I did meet up with someone from the community because why not? I've been trying to experience the community from more of an both encourager side and both as a admirer part. It's not the same for me. What does it for me is my own size, my own weight gain, my own everything, and it's not really the same. I've tried to engage with it, but I would guess, be honest with yourself. I'm going to sound like the most boring adult person ever again, but try journaling. Try writing down in effect what you feel about yourself and your body. That really makes a huge difference, because you can revisit that and be like, oh shit, I wrote this down when I was feeling really low, or I wrote this down when I was feeling really good about myself. And that makes a huge difference when you can take a step back and, would you say, objectify yourself, or,
You
well,
can look at it in a more objective way after you've put some distance between you and the situation, which is some very healthy advice. There are many psychiatrists who encourage people to journal for that very reason, to get the feelings
therapy.
down, to get the emotions out, because
Come on, therapy.
when we compartmentalize, that's when it eats away. That's when you're like, I can't deal with this feeling right now. I need to shove it
Which,
somewhere.
once again, when we look at gaining only through one particular lens, of course it's gonna come up because you can't be horny all the time, relying on this gaining desire to drive your human existence. You're not horny all day, every day. You've got to go shower. You've got to go to work. You've got to have relationships. And even if you don't talk to your family, you've probably got friends. You probably go out and do things. You are a fat person in the world, or you are a person becoming fat or getting fatter. We live in a fat phobic society. There is no depoliticizing that nature. It will have an effect on you, and you need to come to grips with that. We've been exploring this a little bit this season, right? We've talked about the Freshman 15, and we're doing the Warren Davis series, and what we've really come across is like so many of these like core and influential fantasies that drive the gaining desires are really rooted in the notion of someone who isn't having to be a fully fledged adult. Someone's footing the bill. Someone is encouraging you to do all the weight gain. Somehow you've got the perfect sex partner right in front of you. But for many of us, we exist in locations where we don't have regular access to physical sexual gratification with other people as far as gaining is concerned. We don't have a social network of people who can love on us and support us as we go through this. And we also don't have someone paying for all this and giving us credence and, encouraging us in a way that feels good. We only necessarily, for a lot of us, have people who see something in us that they want. And then they choose to engage on that front, which comes back to that point from before. You begin to recognize very clearly that sometimes people only want you for your body. And when you're in the mood for that, that's great. But every other minute of every other day, you've got to know who you are and in this gaining journey and feel grounded in that. And I do think that more people need to come to grips with that. We've been having this conversation since season 1, and bitch, we'll keep on having it till the day we're done. More people need to be aware of the whole that makes you a fat human, or just a human up and in this world.
If I would give any kind of advice to people that are struggling with their thoughts, and I would say, like, we have to be very honest when it comes to gaining. It is a permanent thing that you do with your body. Like, gaining permanently, I wouldn't say disfigures, but it changes your body. Like, it is very hard to come back to, and I guess that is a kind of a burning question, because if I go back to the few interactions I have with my community, people are kind of standoffish and very rude, but also curious. Like, oh, do you have a lot of loose skin now? And that is like the only thing they want to, like, they want to know. Like, oh, you don't have a belly anymore. Well, I do kind of, but how much loose skin do you have? And that's the new thing. So yeah, gaining is permanent in a way. I do not have a lot, but I guess if I keep going down, since I'm currently at around 100 kilos, if I keep going down a bit, I will probably have more. So the body doesn't really necessarily revert itself, as you said, Tim, and I guess you already know that. But when you go into big boy territory, I guess that the stretch marks, the bellyisms, all of that will start to really become permanent, where you can't really go back. And I'm currently dealing with, if I lose more weight, will I need surgery? For example, will I need a tummy tuck? Will I need double chin reduction or whatever? I mean, it might sound as really something that is really prude, or really like trying to erase my, what do you say, my history of gaining, and also unrealistic in case I want to come back into gaining. And I know a lot of gainers that have gone from big to small, much bigger than I was to much smaller than I am currently, have done belly tucks, and then they've gone up to 200 kilos again, back and forth. I guess the sexiness that I feel about my body right now, which that is there, it is not necessarily grounded in a sense of body image at the moment. it is grounded in the amazing things that I am able to do with a body that is more healthy. And please be aware that I'm not saying a fat body is unhealthy. I'm saying a body post back surgery, a body that is no longer constantly in pain or constantly on the verge of throwing up because of some weird illness that I had. That is sexy in a way. Like yesterday, I was out walking or hiking, you would say, for 2.5 hours straight. And that is something inherently sexy about being able to do that without pain at all. And so, yeah, that's a very long piece of advice to give to someone. But I mean, be aware that it is what it is, I guess.
Hearing your story is wonderful. And again, like I said at the beginning, I think that there are quite a few people who are going through this who don't talk about it, because as a community, we don't talk about it. And I think that for a lot of people, this is going to be the first time that they've ever heard a conversation that makes them go, there is something else that maybe could do something for me that I am wanting. So to that point, I want to say a huge thank you to you for being vulnerable with us, for being willing to share. And yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me and for thinking of me when you had this original idea of if I believe in life after fats. I'm just a bit disappointed with that we don't have the share analogy, the voice that you did. I think that's something that we need to finish this episode off with.
Oh, yeah. Do you believe in life after fat?
To answer your question, yes, I do. But thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. It was fun.
Now listen, normally we ask people, where can our listeners find you online? But I think you've made it plain that they may not necessarily be able to locate you in some places, which is perfectly fine. But is there any way that you would like for people to reach out to you if they want to reach out?
I only use the web-based version of Grommr to log in sporadically, essentially. If someone would like to reach out, then I am obviously available in a week or two of waiting time. No, it's at chubcakes, but I will be like I don't want to come off as prude or whatever, but there's a lot of unread emails, not emails, but unread messages in there, and it can feel a bit like I'm letting people down when I'm not replying to their messages. But if someone wants to connect with me, I guess Grommr is the only portal where I would eventually reply. That sounds really standoffish, but
no, it doesn't. I think that's your experience. And listen, if you're out there listening to this and you connect with what John is saying and you would like to write John a lovely message, because we're only doing lovely messages, y'all. If you would like to send John a lovely message, I'm sure that the listeners can understand and respect that they may be waiting a minute for a reply. And so I think, hope, and I say with hope, because you can't control what people do, but I say with hope that our listeners, if they are so inclined to write you, will do so with love and respect and fully appreciate that it may take a minute to get a reply. But I think that is it for now here with this episode of Thicc Radio. Please remember to like and subscribe, rate us 5 stars, leave us a good review. Now, if you like this episode, the podcast, our guest, or just us in general, please share it with your friends and encourage them to tune in. You can find me on Instagram and BlueSky at stannnum.
And you can find me on Instagram at thiccmouse and Grommr at orpheus. You can also look us up on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Thicc Radio, or at our website at podpage.com/Thicc Radio. If you want to become a financial supporter of the show, you can donate to our PayPal, and you can always write to us at thiccradio@gmail.com. So until next time, bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Let's talk about it.
Thicc Radio is a Spotify podcast.
Artwork, media design, editing, and production by James Heinzen.
With original theme music by CYMK.